Today on Encounters USA, it's Cindy Ann Bueno Goodbrake coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Hines for Encounters USA. We are your one-stop podcast and YouTube channel for all things alien, Bigfoot, and Dogman. So relax, kick up your feet, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Encounters USA. Today, I have a really special guest standing by. I met her over at the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival, and ever since, I have been so excited to get her onto my podcast because there are people who research Bigfoot and look for Bigfoot, and there are people who research and look for Bigfoot, and I found somebody who actually does that. She has really interesting interactions on her property somewhere up in northern Idaho, and so it's really a pleasure to bring Cindy Ann Goodbrake on to Encounters USA. Cindy Ann, welcome.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
Well, I'm sure everybody is doing just fine now that you're on the podcast. Cindy Ann, I want to first of all, I'm sure a lot of people know Cindy Ann and probably know more about you than I do.
They just know me as Cindy Goodbrake. So
Right. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your name as we're bringing you onto the podcast because you have an interesting name. Your name is actually listed on things like Facebook as Cindy Ann Bueno Goodbrake. Bueno meaning good in Spanish, correct?
Yeah.
So when people, I mean, it's a very long name. And they used to say, I went to Washington State University and our coach, Mike Price, used to say we had a running back and it had like two last names. And the Coach Price used to say, he's so good, he has two last names. So you've got like four last names.
I don't know about that.
So you must
Bueno was my maiden name.
Oh, okay.
I put that on there because I don't know. I thought maybe it'd be easier for people to find me. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's hard. Yeah, because you have your whole life with that name and then you pick up another, which ironically is also good. So you have Bueno, which is good in Spanish, and you have Goodbrake in English. So you're good all around.
I guess so. I have it stamped twice on my background. Yeah.
Yep. So, wow. So twice good. I don't know how you.
That's actually German. My married name, Goodbrake, is really Gutsbrake. They changed it on Ellis Island, so they just made it Goodbrake.
Bracha isn't brain, good brain?
I don't know. I don't know German. My husband speaks fluent German, so.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Well, he lived in Germany for 11 years when he was in the military before he went to Iraq.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. And so when we address you, how do you like people to address you?
Just Cindy.
Cindy? No Cindy Ann?
Well, a lot of people are starting to call me that. So, I mean, whatever he wants, fine. Either I answer to Cindy or Cindy Ann.
Okay. I like it because then I don't think I'm talking to the one from the Brady Bunch. So.
Okay. Cindy Ann it is.
Differentiate.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful name. So, all right, then, Cindy Ann. Let's start off with the Medellin Falls thing because that's where we met. So we're going to talk about the Medellin Falls thing, which is going to lead us into Igor Burtsev. So what were you doing at the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival in June?
Well, When I first heard it was coming on, I was going to buy a ticket, but I didn't. And I didn't know what my involvement was going to be, because in the beginning, I just wanted to go because it had been years since I had been to a convention. The last one I went to was in 2019 in Kennewick, the international one. And then in 2020, with everything that happened, I think a lot of people were ready to go to one, and this one just happened to have a success rate, and they actually sold out really fast. And so when that happened, I realized that I was not going to get in for the VIP, which is totally fine because I've heard like most of the speakers, but I still enjoy, as my friends and colleagues, I still enjoy hearing them speak. I've heard a lot of them speak on other platforms, podcasts, conferences. I've also at the Texas one, I have been to a couple of times. But Igor is someone I have followed for a long time. And a long time ago on Kelly Rainbow, I think it was Kelly or somebody was asking, and I said, sure, why not? So basically, when it was time for the event to happen, I really wanted to go. And then they contacted me, and so I just agreed to help out with his table and anything, wherever. And so that was kind of how that happened. So when he came up, I just showed up to the event at his table, and I parked in the back, and I was just there to help out, with his books, or whenever Kelly had to leave, and then he would eventually come to my house after he was at Kelly's house for around 5 or 7 days.
Okay, so he started out at your house, went to Kelly's house, then came back.
No, he started out at Susan's house, his other host, and he had a event. After he left there, he went to Kelly's house, and I think they had some event. I'm not sure. And then he came to my house after the event. Shoot, now I already forgot. Did he? Anyway.
That's okay. It was all leading.
But he was at my house for like 5 days, so. There was an order there. I honestly cannot remember. That's
fine. I just, I was talking to him after, and this is all, we're talking about Igor for a reason that you'll find out in a second. But I was talking to him a few days ago, not when we had the crisis I thought we had, but I was talking to him a few days before, and I said, boy, Igor, you got to stay with all these beautiful women. And he said, oh, yes. And he was really happy that he got to get a picture with you. He said, oh, very beautiful. Cindy Ann is very beautiful. He was, of all the women, he just couldn't stop talking about how happy he was to get that picture with you. So,
no, I think he was pretty happy with Kelly, too. I was there, so. Yeah. He's just that kind of person, Yeah. He's just very, very nice, very attentive. But when he comes, when we went outside to go look on my property, he did just that. I mean, he just took over, and I learned a lot from just him walking the property like 2 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was, it must have been just a very interesting experience. And I spent 3 days with Igor, not to count the hour interview that I did with him. I posted that I think that was the last one I've done, but I'll tell you, ever since that festival, I haven't done anything. I've done nothing with the podcast. I mean, haven't done anything, but so many things came out of that festival. I met so many people like yourself that I haven't even had time to do the podcast because I'm following up on all the things that happened at that festival. So yeah. And then one of those things was, I just like to talk to you about it briefly because we talked about it the other day, and you mentioned it when you're talking about the Medellin Falls Bigfoot Festival. That was very successful.
Yes.
Right. But the other day I'm talking to Igor, and he's back in Michigan, and that's not the same story he's telling. And
really,
yeah, just let you know as briefly as possible. Basically, he said there was more people, there were more speakers than there were guests, or people, coming to see
Really?
yeah. And so he said
Too bad.
it was a fiasco. He said they'd rented out these halls and the hotels, and there was just no
Really?
money. So in the end, there was no money to pay for it. So my question is, I mean, I know you don't really know the answer, but you're intelligent. What happened? Why is Medellin Falls so successful? And Michigan, where that's a Bigfoot, hotspot, they can't even
Not
get people
like,
what's that?
well, I was going to say not like over here, but I can't say that because I haven't been to Michigan. And I don't know the details of who was putting on the Michigan conference. I don't know. All I know is that I've done events in the past, and my husband is a disc jockey as well. He's been a disc jockey for over 35 years in Europe, and we've owned an entertainment company, and we've had a lot of things go wrong. And sometimes it's beyond like what the people putting it on. I don't know what could have been the difference. I don't know if they pre-sold tickets to be sold out, because as of this morning or as of yesterday, I heard Nashville, the Tennessee, the Smoky Mountains one was sold out. I had some people want me to fly in there like the last minute. I'm like, I can't fly in there. I'm like the day of to go just like hang out and go on some outings out there. But I mean, how did they put it together? I don't know. Did they sell tickets? Because if they had pre-sold tickets, then, maybe that wouldn't have been a problem. I don't know. Maybe they tried doing that and they didn't reach their goal. I have no idea. I just know I've seen a ton of my friends, like the Sasquatchers, go there to the Michigan conference. And then I think Ken Garrod was also there. And then, you know what? They're going to Tennessee. So I don't know all the details and what could have been the difference. So I don't know.
Okay. Well,
There's always a risk.
I was shocked. I thought that, this is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. How can you have more, guests than people? But you're probably, or speakers and people, but you're probably right. They should have sold it out, and who knows, or they should have pre-sold, and who knows, who was putting it on, et cetera, et cetera. But for me, it was just initially shock. And then Igor's telling,
if you need money, if you need money to pay people that are coming in, this is why I will not do a conference, because it's too stressful. Even though, my husband could come in and just tell me what to do, but we can't work together. We'll just kill each other, because this is Bigfoot and he hates it. But if I give total control over to him, he'll just say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And, we need to pre-sell tickets. He's very good that way. He's a very good organizer. So I don't know if they did that, is what I'm saying. If they just waited for people to show up, then the mystery is not there. Like, I know poor Bill, I was calling him for the one up here. I was like, hey, are there any tickets left? And they were all sold out. And so now I'm sure there was other seasoned people that were coming that I'm sure they could make allowances for. But again, I don't know how they sell those tickets. So I don't want to say anything bad, because I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe you don't know the answer to this one either. So how do sponsors work with a festival? Do you know? Like, I mean, is that guaranteed income?
Someone kind of broke it down to me, because they approached me if I wanted to be a sponsor, and I regret I didn't get back to them, because I thought, wow, that's a neat idea. You have a cost at the end of the day, you have a breakdown, and then you have certain costs that are going to be paid for different ways. And this one conference was supposed to be through sponsors. Was it the Michigan conference that was going to be through sponsors? Okay. Well, then I don't know, because if the money should have been there, probably, you know what? I don't know. I'm not qualified to, but if it were me, I don't know. You know, I'm sure they tried very, very hard. And I know they've had past successful conferences. So, but if you're going to have sponsors, it's broken down, and then you have to find the people that I'm going to sponsor until each slot is filled up, and then you have all of your money.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you would know that, like, I don't know, whatever time frame before the conference was instead of the day of. You know, I don't know if that's a great idea, I think, but
yeah,
I don't know. So I'm just going to give them the grace and, you know, hope that they are doing okay with whatever happened up there. Cause that's the first I've heard of it. All the pictures I've seen looked great. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I'm just going to throw this in there because I talked to you, 2 days ago saying, have you heard about Igor? He doesn't have enough money to get back home. And there's a thing with his visa. And I mean, when I talked to Igor, I understand there's a language kind of thing, but from what he made it sound, he said they basically left him destitute, and he was trying to get back to New York and had no idea how he's going to get.
Well, I don't know if that is totally correct because I heard some other things, but he was able to fly back. So, you know, but that doesn't really matter because we don't know the details of what happened. So I don't want to like linger on that too much. I just know that whatever the situation was, there was people that were ready to step up to the plate to possibly fly him back here. Even I was talking to Kelly about, you know, possibly putting people together, but he was totally fine. So,
okay.
I don't know.
I don't know why, you know, because I talked to him like the week before and it was just grating on me. How did you leave this guy like this, you know? And maybe it wasn't a week, it was just a couple of days, but how could, you know, he comes to America. I don't know.
Maybe you can ask them yourself. I'm not really comfortable talking about that, you know, like right now. Cause I mean, I like the idea of sponsors at an event, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Cause this is the first thing I've heard of it. Yeah. And so, you know, I would just want to walk away and learn something from whatever happened. So I'm sure we'll find out in the future.
Yeah.
You know, but Igor is well liked and loved in the community, and nobody was really worried about him not getting back to Russia. People were ready to step up. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is all that matters. I was just happy to see that he's got a way home because he's just saying my visa's going to run out, you know, and it just,
well, that wasn't going to be until later in the year. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right. It's all very,
enough talk about the Michigan conference. Let's get on to the good stuff
in the Bigfoot world. All right. So we met over at Medellin Falls, and we had actually, I was really interested in you from the beginning because you started talking about a dogman activity up on your property. And I don't know if you want to talk about that now or if you want to save that for a later time. Hey, everybody. Speaking of dogman, we've got some great new Dogman Ate My Homework designs in all kinds of fantastic, colorful fonts. We also have got Dogman shirts, hoodies. Of course, we have tank tops, children's, women's, and men's, black, white. They're all out of sight. Now check these out. The latest, Who Let the Dogman Out? Woof, woof. Now back to the show. But Cindy Ann, it's not like you have a lot of activity, is it? Or if it is, then I don't want to talk about it now because I want it to be its own show. Is it a lot of activity or just a little bit?
I've lived here since 2004. I can write 2 books on just my property.
Okay, but on Dogman?
No.
Okay.
Bigfoot. Dogman plays into that because of my property, the type of property that I have, and the history of my property. So everything is tied together. So it's Sasquatch because that's my thing. And then I've had to deal with the other stuff that comes along with it. And Dogman is just that little percent because I'm not really into that. I'm not really a believer. until some things happened, and then I found some prints, and then I got a recording, and then so yeah, that's just a crazy story. If I could tell you, if you want.
Okay. I want to just let it go and just kind of leave it as a teaser. Let's just go right into your property. Of course, we're not going to give your exact location, but unless you're, I don't know what you guys are doing up there, but you want to keep it private, yes?
Well, nobody can come onto my property anyway because all my neighbors are I have neighbors like woods. So, and all, there's no access here. I'm on a private road and everybody here on this road. So I live in Blanchard, Idaho. I mean, it's not a secret. I've done other podcasts. I have had people come to town and go to the bar and run my name, hey, does anybody here? And then they'll call me. I mean, yes, I've had some Looney Tunes try to look me up, but I've answered almost every call, and I just, I've been pretty lucky, I guess. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a secret where I live.
Okay, so you're in Blanchard, and so I guess I'm going to have to pull up a Google map and flash that on the screen. So I'm not familiar with Blanchard. How far are you from the border, Canada?
The Canadian border is an hour and a half. I'm in Bonner County. Okay. So if you look on the skinny part of Idaho, you'll see Bonner's Ferry, then you'll see Sandpoint, then you'll see Blanchard, then you'll see go into Coeur d'Alene, and then it goes on from there.
So you're north of Sandpoint?
No, I am south.
Okay, see, I'm not very good at that visual thing. So, okay, so you're south of Sandpoint. Well, yeah, I've gone.
You can look on a map later.
I've been in your neck of the woods quite a few times, actually. I used to hang out up there back when I came back from Alaska, because it reminded me so much of Alaska. So how funny is that? But what I want to talk about now is I had, if you want to talk about me for a second, in the Medellin Falls experience. I had never really gone. I went to school in Pullman, so down south of Spokane. Never went up into that area that much. I did some camping up where you are, and but as far as Washington State goes, nothing. And I was so surprised when I went out, Bigfooting with Igor. We went to a property where either that was Bigfoot activity or the guy faked it. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's either real or the guy faked it. And, we saw supposedly glyphs and stuff like that. But if you look at it from a geographical perspective, civilization pretty much ends where you are. And then going north, it's just Canada and a lot of mountains and trees and yada, yada, till you get to the North Pole. So really that's the end of human activity where you are, right? And then, so one thing that I noticed in Medellin Falls, which has Bigfoot activity, history of it, and, talking to the Kalispel, some Kalispel Indians, for example, one of the women told me that when she was a child, the girls are told, be careful, don't go out alone, because these things will take you and rape you. That's what the Kalispel children were told back in the 70s and 80s. So where you are, there is plenty of geographical, anecdotal, native history evidence of these things being there. So basically,
my mountain is called Hoodoo Mountain. Before I moved here from Texas with the military, and I stayed back in Dallas. Well, we actually lived east of Dallas, out in the country where the piney woods start. So our ranch down in Dallas, it's actually a family ranch, not just ours. And I had Sasquatch activity on that property, but I left it alone on purpose because I started researching in 1999. But So from 1999 to 2004, my husband was he got back in 99. He took a hiatus there for 6 years from being in the military. And we both wanted to move to like Montana, but the war had just started. So he got sent to the 321st Engineer Battalion up here. He was over the motor pool. That's his background. He gets everybody ready to go to Iraq. Then they'll send him to another unit if he doesn't go with that unit to go serve. So before he came up here and he was looking for a house, because we had horses and my kids were still little, I said, no house in the woods. I don't care. No house in the freaking woods. But there was nothing to be found. And he found this place. And I honestly believe I was meant to come here. This was not a mistake. And I'm in an area, if you look on Blanchard, Idaho, the mountain is called Huji Mountain. And I've been all over this area on horseback, four-wheeler, most of it. And so this area is just it goes all the way to Spirit Lake. This whole area has just got native lore and legend and a lot of unrest. And so I just want you to know that up front. I did not want to move here. I did not agree to moving here until we could not find another place. This house was being built. It was smaller than my house in Texas, and I have woods all the freaking way around. But we didn't have a choice. I was on a time frame. And like I said, I was meant to come here on this property.
Well, Cindy, can you talk to me a little bit about Texas? What was your interaction with Bigfoot in Texas? Why did you start investigating in 99?
So just really quickly, I'll tell you, when I was a child, I saw the Patty film and it bothered me. My background is Mayan or something. My great grandmother they were living in Mexico, and she's a healer, and a very interesting background there. And I am learning since 2010. I've had a lot of things happen to me spiritually that I can't ignore, and I've had people approach me like in my face because I really don't believe in a lot of that stuff. But I honestly believe that I was meant to come here. But okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic. So in Texas, where we were living, around 1998, I just started looking online, and then around into the subject. And then in 1999, I was doing my family tree, because a lot of my family is Mormon. And I was looking into my great grandmother quite a bit. And I don't know. I thought about Sasquatch, and I thought about my people from a long time ago. And I started looking up things like into Sasquatch, and I found a group of people that were Native American. One person was, and he was supposed to take me out, but then we never met up. He lived, I forgot, in Commerce, Texas, I think. Well, anyway, so I hooked up with other people, and I was shocked to hear that there was Sasquatch just down the road in the Big Thicket. Have you heard of the Big Thicket?
Yeah.
Okay. The Big Thicket and Honobie. We have a family in Honobie, in Tallahena, and in Honobie, which is southeast Oklahoma. That's a huge hotspot. I could write 2 books or just one big book of everything I've done in the 4 or 5 years that I was in Texas and southeast Oklahoma. That could be like one other show. I just started researching in the Big Thicket. I was shocked because we had been horseback riding there already. And I've always felt weird in the woods. I've never liked the woods. Anytime I had the chance to go camping, whether it was in Girl Scouts, hell no, I didn't. So obviously something stuck with me. So when I went into the woods, it was not hard at all. Don't ask me why. I don't know. But when I went into the big thicket, I was, I started researching like anybody else would. I was just lucky, though. I was with a bunch of people who had grown up with these Sasquatch or Bigfoot on their ranches, and their grandfathers had dealt with these on their ranch, and so they already knew, what it was before even Gimlin had seen the film. We're talking like almost 100 years here of the people I were out with, their grandfathers, what they had expected, what they were taught their father, and then them, because the ranch was still in their name. Mm-hmm. So I was out with with other people who taught me how to track animals in the woods. Not that I'm a big hunter or anything like that, but it was interesting because when you spend enough time in the woods, you learn all the sounds of the woods where you are at your location. And I was shocked. We went to this one area where I had been horseback riding already like 5 times. And then I learned, oh my God, that's what that was. Is that what that was? Is that what that was? I learned how to track animals. I learned every single sound of the animal in that area. The fox, the black bear, the coyote, the owl. And I learned slowly over time. And what we would do is we would go to certain areas where my friends would know where to go. They would look on maps. And so I'm going to take this moment to reach out to Jim King. They call him Bear. He's like my brother. He was one of my first mentors. He's a country boy. His grandfather had these beings on his ranch. And he told Bear, because Bear and his brother and his sister and his mother lived on the ranch with his grandfather. And he was taught everything. Bear is a hunter. He's a tracker. He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff as far as like going into the woods and everything. And he taught me a lot. He taught me how to hear. He knows how to call him in. He knows how to make calls. And we would just go out, a lot of us. And we would go out and, we had all the equipment, we would cast. And I've heard my first Sasquatch howl actually before I started going out to research, which was in Honolulu, Oklahoma in 97. I met my husband in 92 after he came back from Iraq, and then we married in 93. My firstborn son, my older, he's 26 now. He was born in 95. And in 97, this is before I started researching, he invited me to go to Honolulu to meet his family there and to check out the area, because we had been invited by a large group to go horseback riding there. And then Ron goes, oh my gosh, I have family there. So we went in 97. We went to Oklahoma, and we stayed with his aunt for a couple of nights. And then we went camping just in a tent, no horses. And we went into Honolulu. I went into this. That's a very small area. I haven't been there in years, so I hear it's built up a little bit. And they have the Oklahoma Honolulu Bigfoot Festival there now. But in 97, the first time I went, this is before it was even like popular. We were camping there, and we had a fire, and we were way up in the mountains. And my husband, he's a big guy. He's like 6'4", and he's a pretty good, with a gun or a rifle, whatever. So here we are sitting around the fire, and I hear what I call the siren sound of the Bigfoot, of what I call it, describe it for myself, what I hear here, what I've heard everywhere I've gone. I've been all over the South, and I've heard this noise. But in 97, sitting around that campfire, I heard, oh, but it just went on, and it changed octaves, and it sounded baritone and very strong. I was raised playing instruments. I happen to play the flute. So to hear this sound come from something that had big lungs, even I knew that. And I said, what the hell is that, to my husband? He's like, I don't know. But he's always packing. He's ready to, if something were to come in, he would have been ready. But it was from a distance. But it was loud and it resonated with me. I will never forget that. Well, we went to sleep and we ended up leaving. And then in 98, we started going camping. We would take our horses to Southeast Oklahoma, to Honobie. And that started a tradition that I really loved going there. We would go there like at least once a month, except in December. Some of the guys would go, but I'm not. It was cold, so I'm not into cold riding. But in 99, when I started researching, and I've learned I've learned all these things. We've heard things. I've seen. I've been introduced to structures, possibly what structures could mean. Just learning. This is what Bear taught me, what Luke Gross taught me, who this other guy, Tim, he also had a part in that, and other people. But I heard the same sound. I will never forget it. We're in the woods, and I heard that same siren sound, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I heard in 97. 2 years later, I'm hearing the same sound. And after that, I heard it many, many times. I've heard roars. I've heard growls. I've heard the siren sound. I've heard grunts. I've heard the chattering. I've heard it all. And that's what we would do. We would go out in the woods to selected areas, and we would just do our thing. And we would be there like almost all night. And I never recorded because other people recorded, and I always just got copies of whatever they did. And I just did that for 4 or 5 years. And then I find out in Southeast Oklahoma, all this activity that's happening, the same thing. And I have been chased on horseback. I'll tell you the story about that. We were riding in Honobie, and with a group of people, like maybe 80 people. And what we would do is every October, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, because my thing is going like a little behind. So in October, we would pack up our horses, we would put them in the horse trailer, and we would go to Oklahoma. I would just go for 4 days because I worked, and I just, couldn't take off like a whole week. My husband, he's an excellent horseman. He can break horses. He can train them. And he would go for a week. So he would take the horses first. I had a really perfect horse. A 4-year-old could ride him. He was a paint, a quarter horse. He was beautiful. Well, one time we went camping with this group of people in October. What we would do is it would be organized. They would have like a Jeep at the front or the back, and people would go riding every single day. The Jeep packed drinks and food, and then people would go for rides every single day, like long rides. I would go for one long ride or two, and then after that, I was good. I would hang back out at camp and help out or read a book or just relax, because to me, that was as much relaxing as riding like 40 miles in a day. So what we would do is they would have organized meals at night. And this family brought in like this tent, like this platform, and it would rise up. It was like a kitchen on wheels. And then they had everything there that was run by generators. They had a horse trailer also that was run by the same thing. The water would be heated up from the water from the creek. Everything was organized. If you signed up for dinner, you got dinner, each night or however it worked. So one day, I had already gone riding like all day long, and we had this dog named Roxy. She was half coyote and half Catahoula. I found her, but she was really Ron's dog, and Ron's really good with animals. She eventually warmed up to everybody else, but this dog would always stick by his side. Ron always rode big thoroughbreds because he's a big guy, so all of his horses were like 17 hands or 16 and a half. So on this one day, we had gone for a ride, and I was in the back. I don't know why I went to the back, but I was riding in the very, very back. And I remember I had to get off my horse, JJ, because something didn't feel right on my saddle. So everybody was going ahead. Then this one girl stopped, and she was like waiting for me. I was like, really, guys, y'all aren't going to like slow down? I honestly think they didn't realize I had stopped and gotten off my horse. Well, this one girl did stop, and I forgot what her name was, but she was Choctaw from Oklahoma. And I was like, oh, thank you. And so she was like trying to help me with my reins, and JJ was like, and then his flanks were ticking, and she stopped. She was fixing the reins, and she stopped, and she looked up. I was like, now, I had started researching already, and I knew because she had kind of told me, don't be making those calls. That's disrespectful. And I would just go, okay, fine, whatever. I thought I knew everything about Sasquatch just because I went out with some of the best in the beginning. But she was trying to help me with my reins, and then she stopped, and then she looked up, and she said, all right, come on, let's go. I was like, what? I didn't see anything, but every hair on my body stood up. She said, get on your horse. I was like, oh my God. I was like, ah. So I got on my horse, and JJ I couldn't control him. He took off with the group, and I looked back, and she stayed there. And then she finally whipped around, and I couldn't look anymore because I have a bad neck. And so I turned around. I was trying to like stop him. I couldn't stop him. And he came, she caught up with me, and then, that was it for the day. And then later we were talking, and I said, what was that? What was up with that? And she just said, well, I just thought I saw something in the tree line. And I was like, And that pretty much was that. And after that, I didn't really let go riding by myself or anything like that. But, like this other time we were camping, just me and my family. Let's see. Yeah, it was just, and I don't think we had our horses with us, but we were in by the same creek in Oklahoma. And we didn't have our horses. So now I've been researching like maybe 2 years. So now I've pretty much heard like every sound. And so now when I'm out, I'm riding, I'm like always looking around for things. So, for any signs or just be listening. I've also heard many fake animal sounds, like especially owls. Oh my gosh. In the big thicket, so many fake owl calls. I'm sure there's other like birds or other animals that they can copy. But on this one night, we were in our tent, and I heard, I don't know what time it was, but I heard like the howling, and it started like a clock. And let's see, it was my husband and me, because I was on the cot, because I was saying she's not comfortable. My husband is not into this topic. He believes, he just doesn't care. And he actually thinks, just leave him alone, So on this one night when we were camping in Oklahoma, I'm trying to think, it was tick time. So I don't know if it was fall, because I know when it's really, really hot, we wouldn't ride. So we were asleep. And it was like, I think it was like 10 o'clock at night. I heard the howling off to my right-hand side. And then I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I was getting really worried. And then I heard it like in back of me. And then I heard it was like 3 a.m. to my left. Now, something happened because my husband sat up, and he always has his pistol with him. He went to the truck because I heard the, ding, ding, ding. We've always had trucks our whole lives, because he's always hauled horses or DJ trailers or whatever. So he got up and he got out of the tent, and he opened up the truck and he got out his big rifle, and he closed the door, and he was just standing there for a while. So for him to get up after hearing that closer sound, I'm thinking, oh, crap. Here, I mean, I was getting worried because I wasn't there to do, Bigfoot stuff. We were there just to camp. But at this point, it didn't matter. Anytime I'd go into the woods, I would always attract something. And I didn't realize at the time the power that I have. And I don't know why that is. I'm not trying to say every time I go into the woods, I'm going to hear stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But when I'm camping in a lot of these places, like Oklahoma, where I've been over and over and over and over, I've had a lot of them come in. And on this one night, I was thinking, oh my God. And then I heard that, it was like a roar. And I have recordings of the same roar. And he just stood there. And it was probably half an hour before he came back in the tent with his rifle. And I just pretended like I was asleep the whole time. I don't know why. I think I was just tired, and I was just scared to death. And I was thinking, oh my God, it's going to come right into camp, and it's going to, which is like totally stupid, because that's not what happened. And then I fell asleep, and then I woke up at 9 a.m. And I swore that was the last time I was going to camp out in a tent in Southeast Oklahoma. It was the last time. I was done horseback riding. I was done, I think the year was maybe 2001. But of course that wasn't the last time. I've been back many times. I got to a place where I was comfortable. I could unplug if I wanted to ride. I got my ride in for the day, and then I did my own thing. My husband was always riding. He was always on the trail because he was always breaking horses for someone. One of the rules was no stallions. Well, this girl brought a stallion one time. Are you kidding me? Rather than tell her to take it home, they took off on a trail ride, and she couldn't control the horse. So my husband's like, because he's already got stuff from the army, beat up and stuff in his neck. So on this one ride, I didn't go, but he had to get off his horse. I think she got on his horse and ended up joining the ride. And I think he was trying to break her horse. It was a stallion, that I know. I think it was a black, either a Mustang or a quarter horse. But I don't know if he was successful, but I remember what happened that night. What we would do is at night we would eat. Somebody would play, play some songs on their banjo or whatever. We'd sing. We would play games like charades, or we would play board games. And on this one night, we were playing a board game. And there was a question, and it involved Sasquatch. And of course I knew the answer. I forgot what the question was, but I answered it. And then people were talking about Bigfoot. And then this one guy was like, he had to give me a hard time. He was like, so you really chase Bigfoot? I was like, and Ron's like, oh, please, let's not get her started. And of course, everybody's laughing because people want to talk about it. But I'm like, nah. But this guy wouldn't shut up. He was egging me on. Well, if you know me, I'm gonna take your dare. I mean, to a certain point. He wouldn't shut up about it. I said, okay, you want to hear something? Let me see if I can call him in tonight. Well, what I did was a huge mistake. Ron's like, don't do it. I made a very specific call that I was taught, which I don't remember what it is, so don't ask me. I don't remember. I really don't. But it was a secret call, which might sound stupid to some people. Or maybe it wasn't even the call. I don't know. Maybe it was just doing it. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. But I said, let's just see what happens tonight, okay? And he was like, oh, I'm so scared. Well, I will never forget this because I've done this like 3 times in my whole lifetime of doing research. And each time I was like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But it gets really annoying when people like, when you spend thousands of hours in the woods and, you take your work seriously. And for me, it was very serious. I was gone all the time with people on expeditions, and we invested in all this expensive stuff, like at that time I can't remember, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many spotlights I've gone through, how much casting material. You know what, it gets really expensive. So on this one night when he was giving me a hard time, he was like, don't do it. And the other girl had a brother, I think it was a brother, but she would be like, and she never would talk to me. She never talked to me. And so I was just like, so I made a call. Well, later that night around 2 a.m., here they come. You could hear them. And Ron sat up in bed. He's like, you could hear them coming. Whoop! You could hear them from the woods. I'm like, oh, shit. Well, then what happened after that is that the noise got really loud. I think it was like 4:30 in the morning. People were like getting up, and the horses were like, some of the horses that were hobbled, I thought, oh my God, this is not good. This is on me. These horses are going to be like, get hurt because they're hobbled. They're going to try to take off. Well, I heard like this tree break, and it sounded like a gun went off. And that is what got everybody off. And I'm like, oh, crap. And so I went outside and I was like, okay, that's enough. And then it kind of just stopped. And then I thought, oh, my God. Because later I was reprimanded by one of my mentors. And he said, with great power comes great responsibility or something like that. And I thought, I didn't do that. I will never know. But that next morning, everybody was like, what was that? I was like, I don't know, but that guy was looking at me funny. And then that girl, oh my God, she was pissed. And she was just fixing oars, and she was speaking in her language. I was like, I walked up to her. I was like, what's the problem? And she said, oh, you're going to learn one day to have respect. I said, I do have respect. She's like, no, you don't. That's not respect. You have to let that slide. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I never saw her again after that. I did have another encounter in Southeast Oklahoma when I did go off by myself. I went up this hill, and I took my dog with me, Roxy. I think my husband had gone off on a ride, and I just wanted to, I had a horse accident, and so I was a little afraid of getting back on a horse. So I wanted to see if I could do it on my own without having a panic attack. So I saddled my horse, and that was another thing. JJ, my horse, he was a quarter paint. He was blue, gray, white, brown. He got bigger than what I expected. So for me to be able to saddle him, to put on the reins, if he would not have been a good horse where I could just manage him, then I probably couldn't have kept him. But I was, on this one day, I thought, I'm going to just take off up the hill by myself because I wanted to check something out. So I saddled him up, and I put in the bit because he started doing this thing with his head. And I was trying to figure out how to put the tie down, which it goes from the, I think, the mouth to the chest. That way he can't raise his head too much. He started doing this thing like dancing, and then I couldn't control him. And he never was like that. So I was trying to put the piece on that will stop him from doing that. And then I went up the hill, and he was just like dancing sideways. And I was just like, this is not good. You've always been a good horse. What's the freaking problem? And I was just, Ron is always saying, take control. And of course, when you're terrified, the horse can pick up on that. So I was just like, I put my boots down on his sides, and I tried to keep him in a straight run to where he wasn't dancing sideways. So I got it to the hill, and his ears just went down. My dog just whipped around and went down the hill, and I heard a noise, but between his shriek, turning around, I don't know what happened. He took off down the hill, but I think something spooked him, because I noticed right away when I had got him like under control. I'm telling you, I didn't go that far, but when he came down that hill, crashing through the logs, I did everything I could just to hold on. I was holding onto the horn, and he went straight into camp. And he just stopped, and he was just like, his flanks were ticking. I'm like, what the hell? So I got off of him, and I felt like I did something wrong, but I wasn't sure what I had did wrong. Well, this other guy who was there, he was also Choctaw. He got my horse, and he took off and he was talking in his language, and he said, "Don't be doing that." I was like, what am I doing? I just took my horse up the mountain. He took him into the water. And just walked him around. Then he brought him back up, and I just tied him up, and then he was fine. I have no idea what happened. I don't know. Those people never, talked to me. They just said, "Oh, you'll learn one day." Well, I learned. I sure learned over time that this, is you have to be careful. But I also believe that, that's just Oklahoma. I've had a lot more things that have happened to me. Going back to the big thicket, we would take our horses there and go riding. This one night.
Hey, everybody. Speaking of Texas Bigfoot, nobody is bigger in Texas and Bigfoot than Dr. Melba Ketchum. That's right. Dr. Melba Ketchum is back, and she has got some fantastic new merchandise, along with other surprises coming soon. Don't be the last on your block to get this fantastic hoodie, sweatshirt, tank top in men's, women's, children's, black, white, any color you want. They're all out of sight. Only on Encounters USA and Amazon. Links in the description.
We went to this one area. It was just me and my husband, and we had this 38-foot horse trailer with a gooseneck that we slept in, and then it could hold like 6 horses. But I think he had cut off the front light to make a cabin. So we went to this one area, and you know what? He had a rule: no Bigfooting. We're gonna go ride. We're gonna go enjoy ourselves. Okay, fine. Both of us worked. He was active military at the time. My husband got back in the military. He got out in 92. Then he got back in 99, so he could retire. I did not want to be a military wife, but I mean, I couldn't stop him. So he was active military at that time. I was I've worked in the medical field doing credentialing. I was also provider relations for doctors, and I did medical billing as well. So we lived out in the country. We, by this time, let's see, Justin was born. My younger son, he's 18 now. I became pregnant with him in the mountains of Oklahoma because my kids are 7 years apart, and I wanted to get pregnant again, but then I didn't and then I found out that I couldn't get pregnant. It wasn't happening. I had a stressful job. I hated my boss, and stress can do that to you, And then my husband is active military. He's getting, he did recruiting for 2 years retention. All the stress on there. Then he had this new job, and he just had a lot of stress with his job. Well, I went to the doctors, and you're fine. Both of you are fine. Just go relax. Well, relaxing is going to the mountains of Oklahoma. I love that place. It's like, I don't know. It's like Priest Lake. I love that place up here. It feels like home. So I got pregnant in 2002, and I was out going to Oklahoma. I was big as a house. I was 7 months pregnant. And I'm going to tell you what happened to me. I got stunned, zapped, whatever. You know what? Some people have a hard time with that topic. I can only tell you what happened to me. one of the guys that hung out with us, his name was Kunbo. Kunbo is very, very smart. He knows about frequencies. He knows about infrasound. I mean, he can tell you. That was his job. He worked, I think he worked for NASA. I can't confirm that, but that's what he did. His job. He knew about all this stuff, and he would go into, he would talk about when we would be out with my team, my best friend, her name was Kelly. Kelly was really, really, really sensitive. Anytime something like that would happen, I didn't know until one day we were out there in the woods. Now, this was in the big thicket. We were out one night, and all I can tell you is I couldn't move. I was stunned. I couldn't move. I just could not move. And then I was released. That was in Boykin Springs. And that was a crazy night. But going back to horseback riding, to the story I was telling, because I'm ADD and I'm getting off track. Going back to the story, we were out there with our horses, and I asked my husband to make a fire, and he said, okay. So he made this big campfire, and within 15 minutes, it's like, gosh, just can't get away from it. And I would intently leave my house and say, no Bigfoot are going to come around. We're going to the big thicket. We're going to camp. There's going to be nothing. We're just going to horseback ride. Nothing. There's going to be I'm not going to hear any sounds. No, nothing. Because I had just had that zapping event happen to me. Some people say, oh, that doesn't happen. Well, something happened to me, and I got very, very sick. And it's happened to me like 8 times of some form over all the areas I've been, even here on my own property. But on this one night, I was really hell-bent on just having a relaxing time and just enjoying the piney woods of East Texas and the beautiful, sky, the stars, whatever. And Justin was just a baby because I left him at home with my older, who was, I think, 6 or 7, John, my oldest. Well, wouldn't you know it, within 15 minutes of us being there from the fire starting, I heard a choir of sing-song. And it was the craziest thing. I couldn't tell which direction it was coming from. It was just like out of the thin air. Like not even from the heavens. It was just like, if I turned this way, it was coming from that way. If I turned this way, it was coming from that way. And my husband was like, here we go. And I was like, no, I'm serious. What is that? It was the most intense choir-like baritone sound. It wasn't even pretty. It was intense. Like many beings just like going, oh, it was like a whole bunch. I was like, what the hell is going on? And then it stopped. And then it got lower in octave. And then we went to bed. But we left the horse trailer door open a little bit. Okay, well, I got scared. And he was like, I knew it. I was like, just calm down, okay? I mean, I can't help it if that's what we hear. And it got really close, and then it got, like it was close by, and then it got like lower monotone. And I was like, and I couldn't tell where it was coming from. My horses were fine. My dog was fine, but I was a little scared. I was like, okay, let's go inside. He's like, let's enjoy the fire. I was like, no, I'm good. So we went inside, and I could hear through the window. I heard it till all night long. And then I just kind of like fell asleep. And the next morning we woke up. Guess what? Our horses were gone. They were like gone. We had tied him to the back, and my husband makes good knots.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Matthew Hines here. Just want to remind you, if you like this kind of content, Subscribe to this channel, whether you're listening on podcast or watching on YouTube. Also, go to encountersusa.com for more videos and podcasts, all archived for your convenience. Also, we have a wonderful Encounters USA blog, as well as an Encounters USA paranormal shop for all of your paranormal apparel. So, not only can you watch your back, you can put some of our designs on yours as well. So we'll see you on down the road on Encounters USA.